Well, today we'll try to understand the user creation and all. Before we go and create the user, let's try to understand the security model and the Fusion environment, Fusion applications. The Fusion, whatever we have a security that we call as role-based. One second. Okay, the security model, whatever we have, we call it as role-based security. Okay, role-based security, or else the standard term, just you can call it as role-based access control. RBAC. Okay, you can call it as role-based access control, or simply you can call it as role-based security. To understand about this role-based security, just let's compare our EBS with the Fusion and all. So when we talk about our EBS and all, what we have for every, we have a menu, some seeded menus. Okay, we have a seeded menus. The menu consists of submenus and functions. Okay, in EBS we have a concept called as menu. Within the menu we have a submenu and functions. Now directly we cannot access to menu or submenus or functions. What we do to use, to access to any application related menu or submenu or functions, we create the responsibility, right? So okay, we have a menu or submenu or functions. Okay, by using the menu or submenus we create a responsibility. Can we use the responsibility directly? No, we cannot use the responsibility. When we can use the responsibility? When we assign the primary ledger. When we assign the primary ledger to responsibility, or else if it is environment of subledger applications along with the primary ledger, we have to assign the operating unit. Then only we can access the responsibility to record the business transactions. So now what we have to do is we have to assign primary ledger to responsibility. Just I am taking example of GL responsibility. That now this responsibility you can assign to user. Assign user. Okay, this is a process we are following. We have submenu, main menu, submenus and functions within that, and we'll create the responsibility by selecting the menu or submenu, and of course we'll have a request group and data group and all, but here we don't need to focus on that to understand what are the points we are going to discuss. And then responsibility, and we'll assign the primary ledger to responsibility. Then finally we'll assign the responsibility to user. This is a practice we are following in EBS.
Hello, Lakshman.
When you talk about Fusion applications, what is the approach? How we have to proceed on this concept of working on some area and all? Let's try to understand. Here in the EBS, we have all the seeded menus, right? The same way in Fusion you can see seeded job roles. That means the job role is equal to a Fusion job role is equal to EBS menu. Okay, Fusion job role, whatever you are calling as job roles in the Fusion application, the job role is equal to menu. Fine, done. And we have submenus and functions in EBS. The same submenus and functions as per Fusion applications we call as a duty roles. We call as a duty roles. In Fusion, whatever you see as a duty roles, those are equal to submenu or functions as per Fusion, EBS. In Fusion, whatever duty roles we have, those are equal to EBS submenus or functions. Done.
The word display as duty roles and chat.
Yes. Okay. Done. Now there is no concept called as responsibility in the Fusion applications. Then how, if there is no responsibility, we are going to have menu or submenu as a part of responsibility. So we are assigning the primary ledger to responsibility means indirectly we are assigning our primary ledger to menu, right? Menu or submenus. Through responsibility we are assigning. But in the Fusion, there is no concept called as responsibility. What happens is the primary ledger will get assigned to job role. Okay, if you have a primary ledger, will assign to job role. Okay, primary ledger will assign to job role, or else you may assign to some duty roles. Okay, primary ledger will assign to job role. Fine. So no concept, no responsibility concept in Fusion applications. With responsibility, what we are doing, we are selecting our menu, right? With responsibility, we are selecting our menu. We are assigning the primary ledger to responsibility. That means indirectly we are assigning the primary ledger to menu, which is a part of responsibility. Here there is no concept for the responsibility, so directly we can assign the primary ledger to job roles.
Job role.
This assigning primary ledger to job role is automation. We have automation. It's automatically system will do it. You don't need to assign through manual process. In EBS, what we are doing, we are assigning the primary ledger to particular responsibility by using some profile option. Here we don't require any profile options and all. Whenever you create the primary ledger, once you complete the primary ledger creation, automatically that will get assigned to job role. Exactly, job role, you can, for understanding, job role is not equal to menu, but just for comparison, for your understanding, you may treat job role as a responsibility. Okay, but the reality, job role is equal to menu. Okay, menu. Fine. So this combination, what we are calling menu, we are calling as job roles, submenus or functions are we are calling as duty roles, and the combination of primary ledger and job role or business unit. In operating unit, in R12 we call as a operating unit. The same we call in Fusion as a business unit. The business unit and job role combination or primary ledger and job role combination we call as a data role. Okay, we call it as a data role. Here data role is nothing but job role plus say your primary ledger. This combination. Fine.
So job role or data role plus the primary ledger is equal to
data role is equal to job role plus primary ledger. We'll have a job role. When you assign the primary ledger to job role, from that job role, from that menu, you can have access to so primary ledger to record the transaction, right? That combination we call as a data role. Means in the menu, what is the use of menu? You can record, you can perform some activities, some functions, you can do some setups, or you can record some transaction. The same way, equal job role is equal to menu. So when you assign the primary ledger to this job role, here try to understand here job role direct equal to menu, but for your understanding you may take it as a responsibility. That means when you assign the primary ledger to responsibility, what happens? Within that primary ledger, within that responsibility, you can record the transaction by using the particular primary ledger, right? So every primary ledger will be having the separate data. Okay, it is a separate definitions and all. So on that base, we call it as a data role. Okay, and we have other role called as a abstract role. Abstract role, which is a very common role. Okay, it's not specific to anything. Okay, it's not specific to anything. Generally in the our Fusion environment, the examples for abstract role is employee. Employee role we call as a abstract role, or contract employee. Okay, whatever. So reason like when we are working on any application, so you'll be working as employee. It's a very common role for every user who are working on the application. So that employee kind of role we call as a abstract role. So the final point is here in Fusion applications, basically we have four type of roles. Okay, four type of roles. When you are comparing these roles with the EBS, job role is equal to main menu, kind of seeded menu, and duty role is equal to sub menu or functions, and data role equal to kind of what we can say like it's a combination of job role and primary ledger or business unit. Okay, the operating unit in Fusion we call as business unit, that combination. And abstract role is employee. Okay, here just for example, the job role example I'll take as a say payables manager example. Payables manager, and I'll take the duty role maybe invoice process. Okay, means specific submenu or particular function. And when you talk about data role, if I take payables, I'll say India business unit, or say India payables manager. Means when I say India payables manager, the payables will be accessing from is specific to particular operating unit, right? So here let's say for India payables manager, means this payables manager can have access to only India data. Here we are treating India as a one operating unit in the Fusion environment business unit. The abstract role direct example is employee. Okay, so these are the different roles we have in the Fusion applications: job roles, duty roles, data roles, abstract roles. Here India you can treat as India is operating unit. I'm taking India is nothing but name is for operating unit I'm taking. In Fusion we call as a BU business unit. Okay, so if you have any doubts on this understanding these roles, you can please ping me, so we'll just work on that.
Hey Lakshman, hi.
Okay, what is the use of data role? So what is the use of responsibility in R12? That is the use of data role in the Fusion.
Okay. So it's like working as a responsibility.
Shravan?
Yeah, hi Lakshman, are you hear me?
Fine. If anybody has any just if any understanding is required from your end, just let me know. We'll discuss. Okay. So just these are the points we have to understand before we start working on the Fusion applications. I hope you can hear me, Shravan. I just muted
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah.
Just if that is the reason I can't hear you. Okay, fine. So these are the
Okay.
things just we have to understand. Okay, if you don't have any doubts on this, we'll proceed to next step. Fine. Okay. So now we'll talk about the users. Users. Okay, we'll talk about users. When you talk about Fusion application users and all, the users are classified into two types. One is implementation user. The second one is employee user. Okay, implementation user and employee user. So we know in EBS, any user will create from where will create the user? Sysadmin will create the user from sysadmin. So here we can create the users from two places. Just one is you can create the user from OIM. Already discussed. OIM stands for Oracle
Identity manager.
Identity manager. You can create the user from here. The same OIM you can call as IDM also. Identity manager. For OIM, just you can call as IDM also. IDM stands for Identity Manager. Fine. We can create users from Oracle Identity Manager or else from HCM, Human Capital Management, nothing but HRMS. Okay. Okay. We have two type of users. One is implementation user. The other user is employee users. And to create the users, okay, we can use Oracle Identity Manager, okay, application or HCM, Human Capital Management application. If you create the user directly from Oracle Identity Manager, that user we call as implementation user. Okay, from where we can create the implementation user? From IDM. IDM. Okay, or you can call as OIM, anything. Fine. The implementation users we can create from IDM, and employee users we can create from HCM. Okay. Implementation user you can create only from IDM. But coming to employee user you can create from HCM. Now let's try to understand what is the difference between these two users. But in EBS, any user you can create for any purpose, you can create from the system administrator, and what are the responsibilities required we can assign, so that from that user, the user can have we can have a permissions to work on those responsibilities. But here it's slightly different. So if you create the implementation user from IDM, you'll be able to do the setups. You are not allowed to perform all business transactions or certain setups within the system environment. Let's take simple example. I'll go and create the implementation user. Okay, I'll go and create the implementation user. Sorry. So if I create the implementation user, and here when you talk about this user, fine, okay, that point we'll see later. When you create the implementation user from IDM, you can complete all the system related setups, the module specific setups. Say for a simple example, we are going to implement financial application. When you are implementing the financial application, we'll do all the setups and all. Being a IDM user, I cannot create the supplier sites. I cannot create the supplier sites, and I cannot create the requisitions. There are some other transactions also where implementation user won't have a permissions to perform that kind of activities in the system. Okay, and one more thing here. In EBS, what we do, we'll create the user, we'll assign the responsibilities. What else we'll do for every user? For user, what we assign? Anyone can ping me? It's not a big question, right? For user, we'll assign the responsibilities. Yes, we are talking about that. We create the user, we'll assign the responsibilities. Apart from the responsibilities, what we have to assign to the user, which is very important. For user, what we have to assign? OU. User, we never assign the OU, right?
Functions.
Employee.
Because that point is important here. Employee, that is correct. Yeah, employee we have to assign, otherwise there is no identification. For example, if you are going to work on the procurement, you cannot work on the approval process until unless you assign the employee to user. Fine. So these kind of activities we no need to do. For example, if you are creating the implementation user, okay, implementation user, you cannot assign any employee to this user. In Fusion, how it works means, so if you have an IDM user, just you can complete the setups. Okay, again there are some limitations to complete the setups and to work on some transaction process. So if you create the user from HCM, okay, sorry, employee user, if you create the user from HCM, the user creation will include, the task will include activities called as user creation as well as employee creation. In EBS, what we are doing, user we are creating, employee we are creating, employee we are assigning to user. If you are creating the user from HCM, that is equal to user creation, employee assignment to user. That's all. Okay. So if you create the user from HCM application, that is equal to you are creating the employee, and employee you are assigned to user at a time. So if you are working on the application with this HCM employee user, you'll have all the permissions because you are classified as a so-and-so employee also. You are associated with some employee assignment, so that you'll have all the permissions. Okay. So if you create the user from IDM, you can do all the setups, but there will be some restrictions, limitations when you are performing some kind of setup related or transaction related activities. But if you create the user from HCM, okay, that is not only just user, that is employee creation as well as employee automatically will get assigned to that user. But this is just user. Okay, IDM user is just user, HCM user is not just user, user plus employee. That's all. Okay. Yes. First, anyway, we'll see we'll create the IDM user. We'll start working on that. Whenever we require the employee user, then we'll create. Okay, so that we can understand how to create these two type of users. Exactly when this employee user is required, how it will be supporting for the process what we are doing. Okay. So this is all about we should know when we talk about the users and all. If you have any doubts, please ping me.
Hey Lakshman.
Can you please repeat again for IDM and HCM? Okay, sure. So if you create the user from sorry, if you create the user from IDM, you can complete all the setups. Okay, you can complete all the setups. You may not be allowed, the user may not be allowed to perform all the activities. Simple example I am telling, if you create the user from IDM, when you are creating the supplier, you cannot create the site for the supplier. And finance point of view, we don't have many limitations. Procurement and other application point of view, there are a few more limitations we have, but let's talk about the simple point which which will restrict us working on financial applications. If you create the user from IDM, it is just a user. Okay, you can do all the setups, but you cannot create the supplier. We don't require other examples to understand, because finance point of view there is no other constraint to create the to use this implementation user. And if you create the user from HCM application, human capital management application, whenever you create the user, while you are creating the user, you have to provide the information, the employee name and everything. Then system will create the employee, and with the employee, along with the employee creation time only, the username whatever we are giving it, by taking that, it will create the user, and it will create the it will assign the employee to user with the same setup. Okay. Okay, with this HCM user, you can perform any activity in the system. Those can be system configuration or transactions, or with this user only you can create the supplier sites. Okay, with this IDM user you cannot create the supplier sites. If you don't have supplier sites, you cannot perform any transactions.
Supplier site, it's a part of you can say like this. Supplier site creation is a part of implementation.
Supplier site creation is not part of. Here we have one question. Supplier site creation is a part of implementation means? Yes, is a part of implementation only. How means? We'll be loading the data into the system. When we are loading the data into the system, supplier data, when you are loading, system will verify from which user the task you are doing and all. Normally it's the implementation time, will be loading all the suppliers information. Okay, which user have that permission, through that user only will be able to do that. But normally if you want to create the just for your test environment or any environment, if you want to create the supplier and sites, you cannot do it from this user, only from HCM user you can do it. Okay,
what about the testing?
that will discuss. Okay, fine. So fine. No, employee user can do the setups if there are roles. See, to do the setups and all, we require some roles. If the roles are assigned to employee user can do the setups. Employee user can do everything, but not implementation user. Okay, employee user can do everything, and implementation user cannot do everything. But again, employee user or implementation user can do some activities based on the roles assigned to those users. Okay, say for example, we assigned some 10 roles to implementation user and 10 roles to HCM user. For employee user, there won't be any limitation, no, there won't be any restrictions. But in case of implementation user, there will be some restrictions, because implementation user is not acting as an employee and employee user is acting as an employee. Okay, we'll see that. We'll see in the system also. These are the points we can discuss to understand these two type of users. Okay, if you have any other doubts, please, any other points we have to discuss or other queries, please ping me so that we can discuss. Okay, fine. That's all. These are the points we have to understand. We have 4 type of roles: job, duty, data roles, and abstract roles. We don't have any concept called as responsibility. The reason is, automatically system will assign our primary ledger or business unit to directly to job role, job roles. Whenever you assign some primary ledger or business unit to job role, that role will become data role, right? So when we talk about users and all, we have 2 type of users. So implementation user and employee user. And by default we'll get a user for application. Here users and all will be creating from IDM, right? IDM you can create, and normal from application also you can create. For IDM or OM, to access this OM or IDM, we have a seeded user called as Excel sysadm. Excel sysadm is the seeded user for IDM access. Okay, fine. For our application access, to access the applications, we have a user called as FA admin. FA stands for Fusion Applications. Fusion Applications admin. These are the two seeded users we can have in the fresh environment. So this Excel sysadmin to access to IDM, FA admin to access the Fusion applications. Okay. So when we are going to work on the implementation project, say for example, we got an instance that is a fresh instance. Okay. So in that environment, from where you have to start? You have to start your implementation process by creating the user from OEM only, or call as IDM. You cannot create directly user from HCM. So if you want to create the user from HCM, you require legal entity and business unit. Okay, so you require legal entity and business unit while you are creating the user from HCM application. Okay, when you are creating the employee user, you have to assign the legal entity and business unit to the employee user. Then only you can complete the definition of user from HCM. Okay, first we'll create the IDM user, then we'll start working on that once we complete with the enterprise structure definition and all, so that everything will be ready, right? Primary ledger, legal entities, business units, and everything will be ready, so will be able to create the employee user. Okay, so these are the points. Fine. Now we'll see how to create the user from IDM. Okay, now we'll just go to the application. We'll create the user. The password and all, just it's the DBA will be setting up. Okay.
If you want to create a user from HCM, we should have lecture in
legal entity. To create the user from HCM, you require legal entity and business unit. Operating unit we are calling as business unit in the Fusion environment. Okay. To create the user from HCM, we require legal entity and business unit. Done. Now say task name is create user from IDM. Okay. Task name is say create user from IDM. So we have a separate URLs for application login and OEM or IDM login. But from application, once you log into the applications, from applications also you can route to IDM or OEM. Okay, you can route. That we'll see later. Now just log into the instance as a OEM user. Okay, this is a OEM user or IDM user. So what's the username? Excel. Okay, sys ADM. When you are working, you can get the password from your DBA. Fine. Okay, just provide username and password. Just click on login. So this is the IDM, identity manager. Okay, fine. From here you can create the users. So here we have a function called as create user, or else here also we have icon called as create user icon. You can click on any one of the option available. Okay, just click on create user. Just click on create user. You can just minimize this. Okay, so you can enter the first name, last name, and everything here. Just and just giving the name as a Sukumar. Okay, and organization. While you are creating the user, you have to select the organization. But we don't have any organizations here, right? We didn't create any organization. See, Oracle is providing one seeded organization, one seeded value to select for every user creation from IDM. From IDM, if you are creating any user, okay. So the first time, like when we get before we start implementation, we'll be doing these setups and all, right? So there is some seeded value that we can select here. So just directly you can click on go. Okay, just click on this search icon, and this open search, you can click on this search. Now you can see the two organizations. So these two are seeded, but you select accelerate users organization. So selected. One second. Just select it. Why it is hiding? Yeah. No, sorry. It's not. Accepted. I'll cancel and will reopen this. Okay. Create user. Search. I'll search for that user. Yeah, selected. Say add. Okay. Now user type. Basically, we create the user from IDM only for consultants. Okay, we'll have a users from IDM only for consultants. We never create the user for employees. Okay, if you create for any employee, they'll stuck with the process on which process they are working since the user creation from IDM. Okay, just select user type as a consultant. Just provide the user login, username. So, Sukumar, and password. Here we have some password policies and all. You can just click on this and you can look into those policies. You can just go through it. The password must not match or contain the first name and should not contain the last name. Now just you can go through it. Okay, when you're just practicing, you can go through it. I'm going to enter the password as first letter should be capital uppercase. Just I'm entering as a Oracle 123. Oracle O is capital, Oracle 123. Sorry, I think it's not 2. 1 2 3 and confirm the password. Oracle 1 2 3. Done. That's all. Okay, then you can say save. So you can click on save. Just click on save. Done.
First name and last name. Display name.
Display name it will take automatically. Just what is a message or message? The mandatory attribute accelerate type last name were not provided. It's given, right? Why it is not reading? There is no mistake from our side, system mistake. Let's click on save and done. No.
Just enter first name and middle, first name at least.
No, it's clearly saying last name.
It's created.
Type. So type also we have everything here. Just we'll cancel and we'll recreate. Okay. Select it, add, select user type as a consultant. Same. Then save it. Okay. Just save it. One second. Last name you provided, right? We'll fill this. We'll see how it will be active. Just click on save.
Display name also.
No, display name it will take automatic. Just log out and log in. We'll try. Password Fusion. So create user. We create with the name called as Sagar. Okay, I'm changing the user name and all. Accelerate user, organization type. User type is can take as a consultant. Okay, you can give the username Sagar. Okay, just save it. Oh, Sagar already existed. Sagar 1. Come on here, how many?
User login is actually. User login already.
Login already, okay. Done. Okay. There's no issue with the Sukumar also, but there is some problem with the system. Okay. Because we know about Sukumar, so there is no issue. Fine. So done. User is created. Now in EBS also, what we do, we'll create the user, and when we are going to work as implementation consultant, what user option is grayed out in our instance. Okay, reason for your user, you don't have required roles which are assigned to your user. That is the reason you cannot. You will see after this session you will be able to make it enable. Okay, you can assign the required role so that user level user creation option will get enabled. Okay, once we complete with the session you will be able to do it. You will be knowing the solution. Fine. Okay, so Sukesh has access. Fine, done. Now see, generally in EBS what we do, we'll create the user, we'll assign the required responsibilities to work on the setup process. In EBS what we do, we'll create the user, which responsibility is required for the user to do the setups. Come on, just give me immediate answer. System administrator responsibility, right? With the system administrator responsibility, we'll be able to create all the responsibilities for which applications, I mean what are the applications are in the scope to implement. We'll create all the responsibilities, and through those responsibilities we can create the multi-org structure, and we can do the complete the module specific setups. Here in the Fusion application what happens is, directly here we are not going to work on enterprise structure and all. First, to start with the implementation, you have to create the implementation project. Create implementation project. Okay, we have to create the implementation project, which we don't do in the EBS, right? In EBS we don't create any project and all, right? Yes. We'll have a user access, then we'll go and create all the responsibilities. From those responsibilities we'll create the multi-org environment. Okay, then we'll start working on module specific setups. But here what we have to do, we have to create the implementation project. Into this implementation project we have to select which applications we are going to implement. Which applications we are going to implement, we have to select and all. What is the terminology for the application they are giving in the Fusion and all, we'll understand in the next session and all, or else once we done with this user creation we'll understand. Just for information, first we have to create the project. Within the project we have to select whether we are going to implement financial applications or procurement or project suite, what we are going to implement, or else within the financials if you are going to implement only 2 or 3 modules. For example, sorry, we are going to implement general ledger, accounts payables, account receivables. You have to select only general ledger, accounts payables, account receivables into this implementation project. Okay, that is a process involved. So now what we have to do is sorry sorry so now what we'll do is to create the implementation project, to do the required setups. Okay, what are the roles required, will assign to this user. So which roles we are going to assign? If you talk about system administrator in EBS, are we assigning anything to system administrator? Or primary ledgers or operating? No, right? So that means the system administrator is consist of only menu, right? Yeah, menu, right? So the menu is equal to here what? Job role. Just we have to assign the job roles to this user. Okay, we have to assign the job roles. We don't need to assign any data roles. Of course, by this time nothing is ready. We didn't complete any data related roles and all, like primary ledger, business unit. Now we'll go and assign the job roles. Which job roles allow this user to create the implementation project and to complete all the required setups as a implementation consultant. Okay, fine. Just select roles tab. Select roles tab. So by default you can see the moment we create the user, automatically system assigned on role called as all users. Nothing to do with this user. We are not going, just it's a default it will provide. Now we are going to assign what are the roles are required. Just click on assignment, assign. Just click on assign icon. Please take all the points if somebody is not taking, because when you sit in front of system, then we'll realize, right? So please make a note if you are attending. Okay, just click on assign. See, you might be recording the session. I don't know how many people are recording, but still please make a note. If you record, it will be there as recorded. Nothing will be in the note. We generally we don't play those recordings for our practice and all. Fine, just click on this assign icon. Now system is asking which roles we want to assign. The first role is, you can search for the role called as application implementation consultant. Okay, this is one of the job role. Sorry, application implementation. So you don't need to type the full name and all. Actual role name is application implementation consultant. Just click on search. Okay, click on search. Here you can drag to see the full name, display name. Role name is application implementation consultant. Just click here to select the role. Okay, just click here, select the role and say add. Okay, select the role and click on add. So this role will get assigned to our user. Now we'll assign one more role. Again, click on assign. Search for the role called as IT security manager. Search for IT security manager. Okay, IT security manager. Select that role and click on add. Just click on add. Done. Now fine. Here we have to understand one point. Now the version whatever we are using is release 8. Release 8. Actually Fusion applications, the actual version is, the series is, we call as 11G, like 11i R12. Okay, 11i R12, however you are calling this Fusion applications version is 11G we call. Okay, 11G, but why we are calling as 8? Okay, within this series 11 series, the sub series is we are calling as version. So if you look at here our application current version, okay, just I'll show you. We'll check the version, so we'll discuss a few points on that. So just click on this user. Okay, 1 second, this is, I just let me log in as a normal user, application user. This is a user we created for other batch. Okay, just click on the user or drop down option. Here you can see about applications. The current version is release 8. Here this is the actual version 11.1.8.00. This is the version. Instead of calling 11.1.8 and all, simply we are calling as release 8. So when you say release 8, it will remain as it is, right? 11 series will remain as it is, just we are talking about it. In the same way, we have some other versions also in the market now. 1 second. Yeah, so in R12, like it started with a 12.0.0, then 12.1.0, 12 point different version, 12.1.1, 12.1.3, 12.2 and all. Same way here, 11.1.9.00 we have. Now the most of the clients are using 11.1.9. Simply release 9 clients are using. Okay, 11.1.10.00. Okay. Okay, most of the clients are using this. Recently it's got released and all. Some clients already started using this version also.
10 also in market. 10 also in market.
Yeah, 10 also there in the market. For new implementations, the clients are using. But unfortunately, we don't have any solution for India as of now from Fusion applications. For when you talk about India, there will be Indian localization. For taxation, there is no solution from Oracle as of now. So in Fusion applications, we have taxation. Like in R12, we have EB tax, right? The EB tax here we are calling as Fusion tax. Fusion tax solution they implemented. So in R12, the clients who are using in which country R12 they are using the e-business tax, those countries can use the Fusion applications. But for India, you cannot use this Fusion applications as of now. The solution may come in the future. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
maybe we have 11 R12, right?
11 R12, yes, we have.
So in Fusion also we have, I mean, we are in 11, right?
We are in
11G.
11G, yes.
So there EBS 11, here 11G, right?
There 11i we call in EBS 11i, then R12.
R12.
Yes.
Now here we have only 11G.
Here starting 11G they started. Later how they will be changed, how what would be the next version, we don't know. There they moved from 11i to R12, but here we don't know. We have to wait and see.
Present version is 11.1.10.
Yeah, 10 client. That you can see in the market now. Okay, clients started. They almost started with this implementation. Okay, but here we are using release 8. The reason is this is a open source. Like you can get for this kind of trainings and all. You can get only 8, but these you can find in the companies. Almost these solutions already we discussed on the demo, right? This is the demo we discussed. These are the different modes. These 9 and 10 are further versions. All are their clients are companies are using the cloud base. Okay, cloud base only they are using. Since there's a cloud based, here we are installing an on premise, right? So we cannot those that release 9 or 10 we are not able to install. That is the reason we are using only 8.
Any differences 8, 9 and 10?
Yeah, there are some changes. We'll discuss when we talk about our R12 and particular module differences. We'll discuss version based differences, changes. There are many changes. Okay, done. So now the current version is release 8. Why we are talking about these versions and all? Okay, why we are talking about these versions? There is some good reason why we are discussing. So here when we are creating this user in IDM, what roles we assign? Application implementation consultant, and other role we assigned as a IT security manager. If you are working on release 9 or 10, these two roles are enough. These two roles are enough. With these two roles, what we can do, you can create the project. Let me write here because there is some small difference. You can create the project and you can do all the setups, and you can create the from that new user, whatever the user you are creating from IDM, from that user you can create the new users. Okay. Fine. Okay, is it fine now? Hello. Yeah, can you hear me now? Oh, There is no reason why they are not able to hear. Please check from your end. From our this side, everything is fine. Okay. Fine. Oh. One second, just. Fine. Can you hear me now? Any change? Do you find any change? Yeah, great. Yes. Fine. See, in release, okay, release 9. Sorry. Fine. Release 9 are higher versions. Oh, it is just okay. Release 9 are higher versions. When you are using this application, you can create the user and you can assign these two roles, so that these two roles will allow you to create the new projects and you can do all the required setups, and from that user you can create the new user and you can assign the roles. You can assign the roles.
From that user, we can create only IDM users or HCM users.
In anything you can create. Whatever the user you are creating from IDM, with that user you can create any users. Again, you can create new IDM users or HCM users also. Okay.
Create users projects and
Yeah. You can create the new projects and you can complete the setups, required setups, and from that user, whatever the user you are creating from IDM, through that user you can create the new users and you can assign the roles. Means you'll have a complete full permissions and all. But at present we are using release 8, right? In release 8, if you assign only these two roles, you can create the project and you can complete the setups. You won't get any permission to create the new users and assigning the roles and all with your user. Okay. So if you are working on release 9 or higher versions, okay, these two roles will give you the all the permissions. If you are working or if you are practicing on release 8, add one more, assign one more role. System administrators. Okay. This role is required in the release 8. So if you are working or practicing on release 8 version, what we have to, along with these two roles, you have to assign one more role called as system administrator. This role will allow you to create the new users and assigning the roles from your user. Just make a note. Release 9 or 10, this is not required. If it is release 8, this is required. Fine. If you have any doubts, please. If you have any doubt, please ping me. Okay, done. Okay, clear, right? Now we are on release 8 version, right? So along with these two users, we require along with these two roles, we require one more role called as system administrators. We have to assign this role. We'll assign that role. If you don't assign that role, what happens? You cannot create the users. From the user, which user currently we created? Sagar 1, right? By logging to the system with this Sagar 1 user, you cannot create the new users. Now you are creating new user, but you are depending on the seeded user, right? But from that user further, if you want to create the new users and any assignments or else any user management you want to do, you require this role. I don't know what is the problem with this voice and all. This is what we can do. Fine. So any luck now? Can you hear me? Shravan, can you hear me now? Okay, fine. So just go to meeting, people are giving some task to us. Fine, good. Okay, done. Now since we are using release 8, we have to assign this role also. Okay, we'll go and assign that. Just click on assign. Okay, it's not working. It's so this is now we created, right? Let's find that user to assign that additional role. Okay, so after just navigating to this screen, here you can find your user. Username is Sagar1, right? Sagar1. You can enter the username, then click on search, and what is the name we given, which is capital 1. Let me check with the roles so that we can understand. Yes. Okay, select the user, then click on assign. Search for the role called as system administrators. Just you can enter some partial name and all. You can see the role name. You can just make a note. Okay, just select the role and add to the user. Okay, select and do add. Done. We created a user. If you want to reset the password, this user, if you want to reset the password, you can do it. Else you can lock or you can disable. Or directly you can delete the user also. Everything you can do from here. Okay, done. Now we log into the instance as a with this user. Okay, we log into the instance this user. Okay, just sign out, and we log into this with this user to applications. Okay, for applications we have separate URL. So this is a login page. Username is Sagar. Password is now we have to reset the password. Okay, we have to reset the password. The old password which I entered, welcome 123. Sorry.
Oracle.
No, I changed it. It was not accepting something wrong, right? Welcome 123. The new password. Okay, enter old password and you can provide the new password, and for confirmation you can re-enter. Done. Now if you have some issue with your kind of password and all, like Gmail and all, we have some security questions and all, right, that they deployed into Fusion also. So here we have to set some security questions. Question 1, your pet name, and write whatever your pet name. Okay, birthday, birth. Yeah, you can write the same, but I am not writing the just I am writing here just to fill these fields. Okay, color. Okay, something you can fill. System doesn't read and understand it, right? It will accept. Okay, submit. Done. Okay. Now if you want to do any setups, okay, to do any setups, the Fusion applications, we have an application called as Functional Setup Manager, FSM. Okay, Functional Setup Manager, we call it as FSM.
perform setup, sir.
Yeah, to do any setups, yes, to perform any kind of system configuration, everything will do from here only. Just to compare with release 12 or functional point of view, in release 12 in general ledger application we have one setup which allows us to do the multiple setups. Any idea? In EBS, to do multiple setups in general ledger application, we have one setup, we have one function, we have one area, accounting setup manager, ASM. Yes, accounting setup. So with accounting setup manager, you can create the primary ledger, secondary ledger, reporting ledger, and reporting and accounting sequences, and even you can create the business unit, operating units, business group. There are many other setups which you can perform, but those are very limited, right? Very few setups. Similar to that, in Fusion we have a functional setup manager, okay, which allows us to complete any application related setups. Okay, all the setups you can complete from functional setup manager. From here only you can create the project. Okay, you can create the project. Here how it works, we'll create the project, we'll select what are the modules we are going to implement. Again we can assign those modules to respective consultant, and you can monitor the status, everything you can do. And in the same way, like, you'll be able to do the setups from the same environment. Okay, if you want to navigate to function setup manager after logging to Fusion applications, here click on this drop down option. Okay, here you'll get kind of menu. So here we have one hyperlink called as setup and maintenance. Just click on that, it will take us to functional setup manager. Fine, or else just you can click on your user, that's it. There is no big difference between clicking on this or username. Just click on the user, it will open the panel. Click on setup and maintenance. Just click on this hyperlink. Now it will take us to functional setup manager. So this is the functional setup manager environment. Okay, so you can create the projects, implementation project, and you can assign the task. As of now, for this user, no implementation project assigned, because for user you can assign the project also. For entire user or particular task also you can assign to specific user. So here assign to Sagar 1 it is showing. This I'll change to, I want to see all. Okay, I'll select some other user so that we can see that. So this is a project created by assigned to this user, and you can click on this. I think they didn't assign anything to that. It's very good practice. Fin user we are using for other batch and all. I'll show you from this. Anyway, we'll create everything. Before we won't create, just I'm giving the overview. Okay, so this project winners financials implementation project is created. You click on this. Within this, what are the products we selected? Okay, finance, for naming convention is different, we call as offerings and all. We'll discuss while you are going to create and all. We'll discuss all these points. They are selected. If you want to do the setups for finance,
But with this user, we can't create a supplier site.
yeah, with this user you cannot create the supplier site. Yes. Okay, financials, these all we call as a task list. So just what are the setups you want to do, you can go with this navigation. For example, invoices. Okay, define payments, define general payable options, and all this one by one you can create all these setups. If you click on this go to task, it will open the respective function related screen where you can do the setups. Okay, you are trying to create the payment term. System is asking for which business unit, nothing but operating unit. We'll create our own. Just before that, I'm just giving some idea. Search for our operating unit, select it, say save and close, not close, actually open, save and open. You can click on this create, then here you can create the payment terms or anything, any task you are doing, everything now will be doing as a particular task selection, because for everything we have here options as a task names in the task list. Okay, from here or else, so already we selected all these modules. If you want to create primary ledger or accounting calendar, you can search for that here. See? So almost all the tasks will start with a manage primary ledger. You can search in this way. That means primary ledger you can create from the different products. From procurement side, you can create from material management, nothing but inventory and finance or Fusion accounting. From anywhere you can create. You can click on this task, it will open. You can just click on go to task. So from here you can create the primary ledger, simple. Okay, so this is what are the setups we are going to do. This is how we'll be navigating from our project environment. Okay, it's recommended to do all the setups from our project environment only. Other than project environment, here we have a direct option as a all tasks. From here also you can do, but we'll be facing some issues where if you are doing the setups from outside of your project, you cannot do the some activities called as some assignments. Okay, that is the reason we should do everything from our project only. By selecting our project, within the project we have to do, so that everything will be mapped with our project that comes under our project scope. If you are doing from here, system will allow you to do most of the setups but not all. Okay, so because of that there will be some issues. Don't do from here. From here also system will accept. Manage primary ledger and all, anything you can do from here also, but it's not at all recommended. Don't do from here. Okay, that's it. Fine. So from tomorrow we'll start the session at sharp 11 o'clock. Today, because of some technical issues, some people are not able to join. They are not connecting to the meeting ID whatever we shared. So that is the reason it took around 30 to 45 minutes time to get it ready and all. Okay, so we'll see tomorrow. In tomorrow's session what we'll do, we'll try to understand what are the offerings we have. Yeah, definitely we'll discuss that. We'll discuss, because first we have to create the project. After creating the project only, we have to talk about how the multi-org we can do in the Fusion environment. In the Fusion environment, the multi-org we call as enterprise structure. We'll cover everything whatever we have to do when we are working as a consultant. On that base we'll have these sessions and all. Okay, we'll create it first. Before we start with a multi-org or any organization structure definition, we have to create the project. After creating the project only, we'll start working on all those setups. Okay, these are prerequisites we can say. Okay, that's it. Okay, we'll meet tomorrow at sharp 11 o'clock. There won't be any delay tomorrow. Straight away we'll start at 11 o'clock. Okay, fine. I think there is some question. Tomorrow, can you please send the link before start? Yeah, sure, definitely. We'll send before half an hour. So if there are any issues and all, we can fix, and we'll be ready by sharp 11. We'll do that. Sure. Thank you so much for everyone joining the session. Thank you. Find out.